Hello everyone, this is the finale of What If Naruto Learned the Secret of Shadow Clone, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Shen was not one to balk when it came to fulfilling her duties, no matter how difficult. Uniting her nation and then the continent under the banner of Uzushio was a continuous work of love, but one she was happy to do so. While not every nation was looking to form complete alliances, trade agreements were still good. With trade came money, stability, improvement both of the ruling class and of the peasantry. That said, while demon, bird, and vegetable had long now been allies, some countries had gotten a bit jealous of late. So here she found herself, supposed to be meeting with a representative of wood, only now she found herself in the presence of a rather rancid man in the middle of a coup. Nothing had happened yet, they knew well the rumors of her husband. So she and her daughters were being cared for gently. As for the triplets, all three nearly mirror images of herself if not for their father's striking blonde hair, they sat just as calm and collected as she did. The man, calling himself Uzumaki, was leaning forward and rubbing his hands together. Dressed in an expensive-looking suit and sitting in a plush armchair behind a heavy-looking desk, he was assured that things would be going his way currently. As you can see, I've made sure no harm has come to you, but that's only for now. Who knows what can happen the longer this goes on. Looking around the wide office, he motioned to one of the two guards at the door, so you'll be a guest here for the time being. We'll get in touch with that powerful husband of yours and make a deal for ourselves here. I'm sure you understand the situation. Women like her were only meant to be bargaining chips, they had no power on their own. They just represented the power their men had gathered for themselves. Uzumaki would use her, and then toss her back to her husband mostly intact when he was done. She sighed, refusing to touch the tea provided as she turned bored eyes to the guards behind her. She knew outside this office was almost a literal army of men and women to keep them here as well as prevent any attempts at rescue. You've done your homework, I see. Though not enough. He didn't realize the danger he had put himself and all of his forces in. Uzumaki nodded enthusiastically with a wide smile. Oh yes. Everyone knows that threatening or hurting the wives of the Uzukage is a death sentence. But, this far away from the capital, his power doesn't carry so much weight. Plus, we aren't unreasonable. We just want a bigger piece of the pie is all. Thinking about how they had been separated in the border town they had been traveling through, she sighed as she considered just what her guard would be doing right about now. You won't have time to entreaty with my husband. My guard will be here soon. Shen had nearly refused this particular one, but Naruto had been insistent. Very insistent. Blinking for a moment, Uzumaki threw back his head to laugh uproariously. Just a single guard. Surely you jest. No, little lady, you just let the big men take care of things. You get to sit there and be the pretty princess that you are. Shen looked left and then right to her daughters, no one outside of the family able to tell them apart except by their eyes. Misako held a left purple eye while the right was blue. Sachiko held a right purple eye with a left blue, while Hanako held fully purple eyes. Naruto's blood ran strong apparently. Girls, you've been paying attention to your lessons, haven't you? Seeing them all nod slowly, Shen smirked, then pay attention to everything that happens next. Well, at least this would be educational for them. Ah, putting on a brave face for the children, how plucky. Uzumaki pushed his chair back to stand slowly. You know, it really is too bad. You're rather beautiful. It's no wonder the Uzukage got his mitts on you. Coming around to the front of his desk, he leaned against it with his hands braced on the wood. Though, the building shook around them, the lights even flickering and dimming for a moment. What the hell? Shen stood slowly, her girls coming around to her front. Oh, I did warn you. That would be my guard. She was a member of Foxton after all. They never left home without someone capable of leveling cities. And her defender was a bit more fanatical about that task. Though, if your operation had been a bit more quiet, I never would have been here. What the hell you mean? We ambushed you. Uzumaki didn't like this. His guard he sent out still hadn't returned. The building shook several times in quick succession. Shaking her head, Shen's smile grew. TSK, TSK, TSK. No, no. Foxton is always listening, watching. You thought you could take this country and no one would stand up for the people in turn. No. Azushio and his people strive for peace. And we'll always be there to help those in need. They could hear more explosions now, and screaming. A lot of screaming. I allowed you to capture me because it was the fastest way to get to your hideout. Not because you were clever. Behind her the doors blew open, and a manic-looking Deodara in a black and blue uniform stood there proudly. There's nothing to fear, because I am here. Cackling like mad, Shen and the girls ignored the soot and blood-caked walls behind him. Deodara did take note of the look she was sending him however, and calmed himself with a deep bow. My apologies Lady Uzumaki, my response was at least 60 seconds slow. Please, leave this place while I finish the demolition. Shen nodded, turning back to smile at the sweating Genmaki. Well, that is our cue. Please, give my regards to the Shinigami will you? Embracing her children, the foursome was gone in a flash, leaving Deodara alone with the failed short-term ruler. Genmaki was quick to hold out a hand as Deodara reached into pouches on his hips. Wait. We can talk this out surely. I can pay you. Look the other way, let me go. Deodara took a single step forward, a bone-white centipede edging to look through the doorway from over his shoulders. Let you go. No. You've laid hands on one of the chosen. This is unforgivable. I'm going to erase your very being from this world. Now. Pulling his hands free, chakra and clay began to mold and build in front of him. Let's make this flashy for our Lord. Lord Naruto always gave him the best missions. Far away and settling down onto firm ground, Shen smiled as she set a good walking pace. Behind her the triplets broke character, smiling and dancing around her as they made for the Uzumaki compound. Oh common mama, let us have a go next time. We coulda took that guy. Sachiko was all smiles as they were back home. The triplets had been training with the others every chance they could get. While not fully ninja, having priestess training as well, they still would be a match for any ninja their age. Sachiko wanted to introduce someone to her chakra cannon technique already. Shen shook her head. While you are powerful and talented, your duty is not to fight, but instead to lead and give orders. Your training was for self-defense. In the case you absolutely have to fight. The more reserved daughter, Masako sighed, but we'll never know what we can do if you never let us fight mother. Not that she was itching to do so. But she at least would like to know that her skills wouldn't go to waste. The last daughter, linking her hands behind her as they reached the house, shrugged and nudged both of her sisters. Let's just be happy we're back home. You know what that means, right? All three daughters let their mother get ahead of them, already sighing as they noted the flush on Shen's face. Right. Masako sighed again. Mother really does love father. That's putting it mildly. Sachiko grabbed both her sisters and angled for the town below the manor instead, turning back the way they came. Let's go bug Itachi. I bet Auntie Sakura and Amuro would love a break. Shen turned back to her daughters, waving a finger at them. No causing trouble in town now. And stop teasing little Itachi. He's a good boy. Sachiko was already running and leading the way, Masako and Hanako waving for her over their shoulders. Of course mama. And then they were headed down the hill, leaving Shen to sigh with a hand to her cheek. They grow so fast. Gentle but strong arms encircled her waist from behind, and Shen leaned into the back that was there. Speaking of things that grow fast. Naruto chuckled and shook his head. Things went all right. Do I need to go back and handle anything? The only thing you need to handle is right here, beloved. Shen turned her head and leaned up, kissing her husband softly. Say, I think the girls could use siblings. More. You mean, the more the merrier, right? Shen leaned into him more, kissing along his neck. You won't deny me, will you? Naruto was already picking Shen up to carry her back into the house, all thoughts of work long gone. Your wish is my command. Below them and turning away, the triplets were blushing as they raced away from the house. Sachiko was smirking as thoughts of maybe a younger brother entered her head. Dad really loves mom, doesn't he? Hanako nodded. Dad loves all of us. Masako gave a rare smirk as she weaved wind around herself. I think he loves me the most out of us. Yup. Come back here, you cheater. And then they were gone, to harass the eldest Uchiha son for the day. Naruto did his best to split his time between his family, kids, and work. Sure, clones were great for the work part, but there were times he needed, or maybe better said, it was more efficient to go in himself. That said, quality time with the children would always take priority over anything else. Even if that was to just cause trouble. Sometimes the glares and lectures from Tayuya and Hinata were well worth it. Almost. As he sat in his office today while on a vid call from Gaara and Nagato about expanding a rail line between their two countries, he did his best to ignore what sounded like sirens behind him. So, I can have Sandayu send along some spring engineers about the tunnel project and connecting you to Rizushio and Fire's train network. After that, it's the job of the civilian sector. Nagato was smirking, seeing something going on behind Naruto's head. That sounds adequate, yes. Rain has made great progress thanks to yours and Konoka's assistance. We would like to keep up this progress. Rain's capital had become less a hodgepodge of reconstructed ruins and more of an actual city. It was a night and day difference that even Conan had been enjoying thoroughly. Gaara, however, was silent as Naruto noted the sirens were getting closer. An eyebrow was raising now as Gaara tilted his head a bit. Should you go look into that? Waving a hand to dismiss any concerns, Naruto chuckled nervously. I'm sure the others can take care of things on their own. So, about Suna's major greenhouse projects. I was thinking. Behind him his windows rattled as several somethings blew by. Laughter floated by on the wind, and Naruto sighed dramatically. Those were my kids, weren't they? Nagato chuckled. I did see a lot of blonde and red out there. Gaara was already moving paperwork around on his desk. We've gotten the bulk of the agreements out of the way, Nagato, and I can finish the rest, I believe. Naruto was already standing. Yeah, I'll call ya back. Be nice to my nieces and nephews. Gaara's face winked out on the wall screen, before Nagato waved and left the chat as well. Left alone to stand and count to 10 in his head, Naruto hoped, prayed, that no one came through his door. That he only made it to 3 before it did in fact bang open was disheartening. Hey there, Yugito. What's the damage? The older blonde was bringing him bad news, but still had a radiant smile on her face. Other than a lot of noise and ruckus. Not much, but they are a disturbance and the citizens have started taking bets. If you could rein 'em in. Yugito made it to his desk, smiling and leaning over in her blue on lighter blue tunic, and maybe if you hurry we can have a meeting. Naruto kept his eyes on the prizes and nodding quickly. Sounds like a good idea. I'll catch up to M. My eyes are up here, Naruto. That she reached up to pull her collar open meant nothing. If anything, Naruto stared harder. I've made my choice. Shaking her head and leaning in and up to kiss him softly, she pushed him away. Go on, if you're a good boy, maybe some we will be here with lunch when you return. That he was already through a previously closed window, now jolted open and swinging, left her shaking her head. She returned to her desk to make a phone call. Falling through the sky with a grin, Naruto opted for more magnet release as he slowed his fall to a more manageable hover. Looking around the busy city and seeing nothing at first, he listened for sirens before making towards the arena. It was nice to float along in the air, weaving around an airship while waving to a surprised-looking captain and deck crew. The skies around Azushio certainly were getting busy. Maybe it was time to put together some type of traffic control. Shrugging, Naruto could just make out 3 people flying through the skies ahead of him, the one in the lead trailing long auburn hair while the 2 behind her were sporting shorter dirty blonde hair. Oh, Maze kids, of course. Taking a deep breath and adding cum chakra to both his vocal cords and the air around him, Naruto readied himself for a good father scolding. Kami was proud of herself today. She slipped her guards posted by her mother, and even convinced her younger brothers to tag along. Riding on seal-laden surfboards, now made to ride the wind itself, they were having fun while zooming through the skies of their father's city. Not that he'd ever call it that, but ask any of the citizens and they would proudly proclaim it. Behind her as she skirted just above a residential block where it looked like someone was having a party on the roof, the middle brother pulled up alongside her. Kami. The border patrol is starting to follow us kinda close now. Yelling over the wind was always a hard thing. Laughing and flipping over him, Kami threw her arms out wide. Oh, who cares, Ken? Our dad is the Azukage and our mom is the Mizukage. Who's gonna stop us? Kami. Ken. Benimaru. You better ground those boards before I catch up to you. Naruto's voice rang out over the air, and all three children looked to see their father gaining on them, and quickly. Benimaru came up on Kami's other side, short crew-cut hair keeping out of his face. Yeah, should have expected that. Kami was already pointing down. Go and scatter. He can't catch us all. Without looking, she already dove down to the street level, zooming over the tops of buses and people alike with abandon. Behind her, both Benimaru and Ken looked at each other before looking at their father. On one side, a short run of fun before a possible month or two of lectures and grounding. On the other, stop right away and maybe get away with a warning. It was Ken who was already settling down on a roof. Nope, I'm not looking to get grounded into next year. Benimaru nodded along, coming down next to his brother to sit and watch the show. You said it. As Naruto zipped by above them to chase after their elder sister, a clone settled in between them, resting hands on their shoulders. You gave up quick this time. What's the occasion? Ken shrugged. Kami's been in a mood lately, figured she needs to talk to Ya. She had been more insistent on this run around today. And had been proper moody lately. Mom said it was just Kami getting older. Ken was sure it was PMS. The clone nodded, sitting down and pulling both boys under his arms with a grin. Aha. And when are you two going to stop letting your big sister talk you into getting in trouble? Putting up a token resistance, Benimaru sighed finally as he knew his dad wasn't letting go anytime soon. You know how she is. She's got that scary selective hearing gene just like Mom does. Kami had yelled at him specifically recently because he asked if he could borrow a manga. A manga? What did she hear? Something about being a brutish gorilla. How do you get gorilla from manga? It made no sense. Ahead of the chatting father and sons, Kami continued to look over her shoulder for where she knew her father would be. Ducking through dim alleyways and over a bustling-looking entertainment street, she gave a wave to a group of school kids on a trip. They waved back excitedly, but she was already up and over the next set of rooftops on her mad dash for freedom. Until her board stopped working under her and she found herself floating within a sphere of white chakra. Oh, common old man. That's not fair. This isn't a catch at all. Crossing her arms and her legs as she floated in space, Kami had to give it to her daddy. This was a faster catch than normal. Naruto touched down on the rooftop he stopped his wayward daughter on. She did look so much like May, down to the way she styled her auburn hair and the figure she was growing into. She still had a long ways to go, but Naruto was going to put a big ass sign on the tower denoting that all his daughters were off limits. Not unless their suitors could best him in combat. But, now wasn't the time for future worries. Now was for scolding. Hand on his hips and face stern in what he had dubbed disapproving father pose. 1 foot he kept his eyes on Kami as she floated and pouted within his barrier. Sue, anything to say for yourself? I did nothing wrong. So he wanted to have a staring contest, did he? She could play this game. Sighing and lifting himself to float with his daughter, he crossed his legs and got comfortable. Aha, normally we'd let you kids fly all over the city all you want. Until I heard from even Tsunami that you were buzzing the airships and more than a few fishing trawlers out in the bay. Wanna explain that? Arms still crossed, Kami turned her nose up to her father as her floating allowed her to turn her back on him. I don't remember doing any of that. Sounds like someone else. Someone else bearing a bright orange jacket with the Uzumaki crest on the rear. Naruto didn't miss a beat, adjusting the currents within the sphere to bring his daughter back to facing him. Okay, spill, what's going on, Kami? It's just you and me up here. I just wanted to have some fun, that doesn't mean something is wrong. Rolling his eyes and deciding he needed to do something or they would be here all day, Naruto snapped his fingers, taking him away from Azushio entirely. Dropping his daughter with a yelp into soft grass, Naruto touched down to walk towards a tree on a raised hill. Aha, common, I wanna show you something. He made it a point not to bring any of the kids along during his dimensional shifts. At least, until recently. Some of them were getting older, so he decided they could handle the weirdness of it. Taking in the place they found themselves in, she couldn't see over the hill, but behind them was a wide expanse of thick forests. A peaceful-looking place all things considered, though the air was heavy with something she wasn't familiar with. Was this where Dad ran off to so he could have some peace and quiet? Where are we? Grass. Bear. Chuckling as he came to the top of the hill, Naruto shook his head as he looked out over a sleepy-looking village that sported a rather massive tree sheltering them all. Settling himself down against the tree, Naruto patted the ground next to him. Common, sit with me. Crossing her arms, Kami frowned. What's this about, Dad? Why'd we come here? Kami, sit. Naruto internally chuckled as his daughter hastened to obey, looking down on the village quietly with him. They could just make out people milling about below them, and what looked like a stooped old woman headed their way. You wouldn't know it, but we've actually left our world behind. This is a different Earth. Seeing the incredulous look from his daughter, Naruto waved a hand out. Go ahead, feel the energy here. Reach out with your chakra. I know you've been paying more attention than you'll admit to during your training. Huffing and wanted to deny it, Kami was curious. A different world. Really? Her dad could do this. She did as he asked, reached out and finding a distinct lack of chakra here, but more of that something that made her feel heavy. What? How? Didn't all life need some form of chakra in order to survive? What is that? Miasma. Not chakra, it's kinda gross. Naruto chuckled. Like I said, a different Earth. One that grew without the aid of space aliens and mythical chakra fruit. Of course, the fantastical still survives. Demons and the like. Actual ones, not idiots like Kurama. I'll remember that. Remember it all you want, you horny furball. I'm still mad. You've enjoyed my messing around. Remember the other night. Yugito, Sumui, Shen. Naruto did in fact remember that night, and also refused to give Kurama any satisfaction in being correct. You're still on timeout. Unfair. Lord Naruto, you've returned again, I see. And who's this with you? The old woman was waving to him, smiling as Naruto waved in return. One of my daughters, Kami. I thought a field trip might be nice. Oh, I didn't believe you when you said you were older than you looked. I suppose the physical proof makes it more believable. Naruto grinned, motioning to the old woman with a hand. Kami, this is Kaidi. Keeper of the shrine of the Shiken no Tama. And an old biddy who gets to watch over an upstart punk who sleeps too much. Grunting and sitting down on Naruto's other side, she resisted the urge to pop him in the head. I would appreciate if you could at least pretend to show me some respect, Lord Naruto. I respect you more than you think, Lady Kaidi. But, to why I'm here. Naruto nodded his head to the village, though his attention was on his daughter. Kami. Ah, yeah, Daddy. I want you to be honest with me. There's no one here who'll talk. What's going on with you? Naruto didn't need his emotional sensing to tell that something was bothering his daughter. More than just trouble with training or family issues. Well, there would be no getting away from this. Kami knew her father was much more perceptive than he let on. Goofball persona aside, her father was extremely good at finding out the details of things. Came with being a seal master, she supposed. Drawing her knees to her chest, the daughter of Naruto Uzumaki and Mai Terumi Uzumaki sighed heavily. How mad would you be, if I said I didn't want to be a ninja? I wouldn't be mad at all. Almost hearing Kami's neck crack with how fast she turned to him, Naruto chuckled and waved a hand to the world before them. Never mind our home. The world is a wonderfully big place. I didn't have you kids training because I wanted you to be ninja specifically. I wanted to train you so that you could defend yourselves no matter the opponent. That's it. Naruto turned to his daughter, eyes bright as he smiled warmly at her. You wanna go be a florist? Or a sailor? Maybe a pilot or an entertainer? Be my guest. So long as you're doing something you enjoy and you're safe. The only limit on what you can do is your own imagination. Naruto did pause to consider his thoughts before pointing at his astonished child, though if you decide to tour the world, make sure to check in periodically. Wouldn't want to worry your mother or various aunts now, would you? That's, she had been freaking out for so long. Sure, the abilities she had were cool and useful, but the thought of killing anyone, even by accident. It turned her stomach in a way she didn't like. But her dad was always so happy when he got to spend time with them, train them. She had been sure he'd be heartbroken if she didn't want to do it anymore. You're really not mad. A warm arm wrapped around her shoulders, pulling her into a tight hug. Never. You're an Uzumaki. You're free to do whatever you please. Heck, your sisters from Shen don't practice ninja duties full time, neither does Kaoru. I still love you all equally. Even when you're terrorizing our citizens. Thoroughly chastened, Kami ducked her head. I'm sorry about that. Don't sweat it. I used to paint the Konoha monument every time I got bored. Your little flying escapades are nothing compared to that. I'm pretty sure Mom would say otherwise. That's why we aren't going to say anything to her. Your funeral. I can sweet talk her later. Even though Naruto had his own brand of sweet talking, sans the talking. La 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 la. I don't need to hear that. Gross daddy. Kami was up and dancing away, hands against her ears as Naruto laughed long and loud. Levering himself back onto his feet, Naruto shared a wink with Kaidi, so, same time next week. You keep visiting me, but you never say why. What does a demon lord like yourself want with one like myself? While she was grateful for Lord Naruto's visits, it did keep the demons far away from the village. It was still unnerving to know one so powerful had an eye on them. Naruto put a finger to his lips. That's a secret. Snagging his child by the collar, he did have to lay down some bad news. And you don't think you're out of trouble just yet. You ran when I told you not to. Or common daddy, you caught me, didn't you? Engaging the ever-faithful puppy dog eyes, Kami was sure her father wouldn't be too harsh. Well, maybe. There had been a few close calls. Aha, tell that to Tayuya when we get back. Naruto flashed them back home, already new plans in mind. Left behind, Kaidi looked out over her village. What an odd demon. B. Kuretsuki was having a good day. While Iwa was not the powerhouse it once was, she was finding that all of her ninja with suddenly an abundance of time found other hobbies to indulge in. If anyone had asked her if she saw her village being a center for clay and ceramic art, and a new flair for strong rhythm-based dances, she would have laughed right in their faces. And yet, here they were, nearly 15 years later, and a new uprising of the arts was upon them. Not just artists, but nobles and lords from all over the nations were coming to see what local artists were coming up with next. She would attribute it to Iwa's known persistence through any and all adversity, and not because a certain blonde had forced them to change. That said, as she sat behind her desk with a glass of amber liquid in hand, she considered the newspaper for the day. So the air dances were making a tour of the elemental nations with a Stone's capital was even listed as a destination. Maybe she could make the show herself. And she can smile, how about that? Naruto's voice cut through the empty air of the office with ease. Yet, Kuretsuki saw no need to lose her good mood. I'm surprised you've made an appearance, it's been a while. Pouring another glass all without looking, Kuretsuki passed it over the desk with ease. Accepting the whiskey, Naruto grinned and leaned back in the other chair. I was out and about, thought I'd pop in. Heard some good things lately. You're even getting along with Gaara. Purely rumors. Oh, of course. Yes, of course. They sat there in silence, Kuretsuki reading her paper while Naruto was content to watch the world turn by outside the window. Part of her was curious why the Uzumaki was here, bothering her during her lunch break, but another part of her she found just didn't care. He had kept his word. He left them alone so long as they adhered to the terms of their surrender, and they were happy now to do so. The rest of the world could fight and die over pitiful reasons. Iwa would endure and adapt. You know, as far as rumors go, there's another I've been hearing lately. Care to hear me out? Do I have a choice? Everyone has a choice. Naruto turned bright blue eyes her way and Kuretsuki snorted. Go ahead then, what's this rumor you've heard? She'd play along. She had nothing else to do for now. Naruto took another sip and enjoyed the burning sensation in his throat. Does this team see? Formerly of lightning even before its destruction. Apparently one of their members can steal bloodline limits. Naruto shrugged as Kuretsuki finally turned to face him. Now, I'm not saying you're courting them. Not at all, but you might want to check in on your daimyo. See what the old codger is up to. Kuretsuki eyed Naruto patiently. What was this? A trap? No, he wouldn't need to do such. If he wanted them dead, they would be dead. Was this an olive branch? Why come to me? It's your turf. You should have first crack at it, don't you think? Shake the dust off if you want. I can send a team after them if you don't want it, though with your daimyo involved it might get ugly. Naruto honestly didn't care. Those old men served less and less of a purpose as time went on. Kyuki would happily see most of them roasted over a fire as well. A team from Lightning, huh? I'll look into it. Far be it from her to look a gift horse in the mouth. Kuretsuki pointed at the blonde. You're not here for anything else, are you? Not at the moment, unless I need to be. Got something you want? From you? I can be nice, ya no. I don't think I want your brand of nice. That's a lot of women to compete with. Kuretsuki smirked at the hangdog look that crossed Naruto's face. That was rather satisfying. I'm not so depraved that I'll jump every woman I see. No matter how hard rumors tried to paint him out to be such. Kuretsuki hummed noncommittally before deciding to give some information she had overheard as well. He was being nice so she supposed she could be as well, you know. There's a new group being whispered on the wind. Researching ways to overtake Uzushio's power and influence. Something about androids and synthetic souls. Can't pinpoint where they are, but I believe they hail from Rain. Well, wasn't she feeling generous? Naruto kept his smirk to himself. I'll have a chat with Nagato and we'll look into it. Naruto finished his drink, setting the glass down gently and standing. I'm glad ya know that we can talk like this. Oh, I still hate you. Kuretsuki once more enjoyed the sour look on Naruto's face, and instead smiled in her own mysterious ways, but I suppose I can tolerate you for now. In all honesty, she didn't harbor such strong emotions towards him anymore. Time and self-reflection had done wonders for her over the years. Naruto grinned while leaning on her desk. I'm starting to grow on you. Like mold. Objectively, Kuretsuki could admit, if he wasn't such a monster, Naruto was a good-looking man. They both turned as the door to her office opened, a well-dressed Uzumaki walking in with a collection of folders. Lady Tsuchikage, I have the trading reports from. Looking up and spotting the muscular form of the Azukage standing over their cage, Uzumaki blinked quietly before making a smart 180. Sorry for disturbing you, my lady. And then the door was closed quickly. Kuretsuki turned irritated eyes to the man at the center of chaos. I blame you for everything that is going to happen to me. Yeah, my bad. I normally seal up the door when I pop in. Naruto knew rumors would fly now between them. And none of them would be good. Want me to put some fear into him? That would only make it worse. Kuretsuki sighed before deciding it didn't matter. It wasn't like she was going to be dating anytime soon anyway. And the people couldn't really care about what she did with her personal life anyway. Go away, before you cause more trouble. Welp, till next time, Kuro. And then he was gone, leaving the Tsuchikage alone. Whose thoughts were already gearing up to tackle the problem of her daimyo. Was that bastard hiring ninja behind her back? What for? A coup? An attempt on the Uzumaki? She needed to find out, now. Which meant her lunch was over. Time to face the music, she supposed. B considered the board in front of himself, nearly as long and wide as he was tall. Shogi was not his usual game to get into. But with all his free time and nothing to do, it was so far the only thing he and Gyuki could sit down together and do. It was already a miracle that the Biju was back to talking with him, so he wouldn't push his luck. The ground trembled under his feet as he considered his next move, and he ignored it. Watching his former container make a move, Gyuki was quick to make a counter, steadfastly doing his best to also ignore the rhythmic tremors picking up speed. You've been well. Has Naruto come and visited you at all? B shrugged, noted more of his pieces lost as the ancient Biju was once more going to trounce him at this game. Once or twice so far. But he promised on his last visit to swing by more often. We'll see, I suppose. Another small mercy. Naruto had been willing to leave B to rot in his misery, but it was Gyuki once more who asked for a favor. They didn't talk about anything in particular, though B considered that he was using the visits as a reason to run away from his various wives. Lucky bastard. Maybe you should go back to rapping. Maybe that'll entertain him. Don't really have the mood for it anymore, but maybe one day. The ground shook once more, and B finally sighed heavily. Couldn't they take that somewhere else? Does it have to be here? Concentration broken, Gyuki was left with no choice but to know exactly what was going on over the hill where Kurama and the Matatabi were enjoying their new temporary bodies. Why don't you two go bother someone else? 3 days. They had been at this for 3 straight days. Kurama's voice carried over the winds, rhythmic thumping refusing to let up. We were banned from the city. Matatabi's yowls paused for a moment. Apparently catching 2 Biju going at it is traumatizing for normal humans. Muttering that it was traumatizing for them as well, Gyuki considered his former container. Want to try again? B sighed and nodded, anything to keep his mind off of what was going on a few hundred meters away from him, anything to stave off this boredom. And to keep his mind off of the horrors he had been forced to witness already. Nope, He did not want to think about weird fusion kits between ancient fox and cat demons. Nope. That way led to horror and mind-breaking realities. They were chakra constructs. They weren't supposed to have genitals anyway. Why would Naruto give them working parts? Kurama made a mental promise to be nicer to Naruto for a long while after this. This was the best stress relief ever. Matatabi looked back at him over her shoulder. You better be ready for another few days of this. Yes, ma'am. Life was good. Minato was honestly very impressed with his son, all things considered. Capturing the souls of Orochimaru and Obito purely to bargain with the Shinigami to release his and Kushina's souls from his gullet. Well, it was certainly better than sacrificing someone else for the task. And now they got to enjoy the heavenly afterlife with ease. Kushina got to spend time with her family and watch over the revived Uzumaki clan, while he got to relax and check in from time to time while catching up with Rin. Sure, he had to ignore Kushina's favorite pastime, but that was something else entirely. He loved his wife dearly, but she could be terrifying when angry. WHO said leaving a 5-year-old alone in an apartment was a good idea. He couldn't even cook for himself, you old bastard. Kushina's voice rang out from over a cloud bank, while several meaty thwacks followed. Biwako sat next to Minato, looking through her own little space in the clouds as Naruto watched over several of his children while sparring. Kushina is in good form today. That is your husband, isn't it? Aren't you worried? Biwako took a sip of tea quietly. He brought it on himself. He was safe, wasn't he? I couldn't play favorites in the village. Hiruzen's voice called out, only to almost immediately be drowned out by more screaming. My baby lived alone for more than a decade, you shit. You could have let Mikoto adopt him like we planned. Hell, even Tsume would have done a good job. By the Kami, you could have sent him off with Tsunade if you had wanted to. You can't talk your way out of this beating. More sounds of violence and carnage followed, while Rin giggled as she watched over Kakashi and Shizune. They looked rather happy at the moment. You know, maybe you could pop in, convince your son to slow it down a bit. That's a lot of kids. Rin leaned over Minato's shoulder, watching Naruto swat his kids around the training yard with ease. He's a monster like you, sensei. Well, he does take after us both, ya know. Minato chuckled and scratched at his cheek. Even he was starting to think Naruto might be going overboard a bit. What was he trying to do? Repopulate the entire nation himself? Mercy. Please, mercy. Mercy is for the weak, you raggedy old lech. How about a chain enema? Minato hung his head and sighed, deciding maybe it was time to try and reason with his hot-headed wife. Cupping a hand to his mouth, he raised his voice a bit. Kushina dear. I'm pretty sure one of the girls might be pregnant again. Kushina was suddenly hanging onto his shoulders, looking over his head at the scene below them. Hoo. Maybe Tayuya-chan this time, or maybe Karen-chan. Eyeing the scene, Kushina sighed. Oh, it's just our boy swatting around our grand babies. Why tease me like that? Rin reached up to pat Kushina's arm. Actually, Honoka might be pregnant again. Kushina's eyebrows disappeared into her hair. That woman really needs to tone it down. Wasn't 5 at once enough? Rin shrugged. She went for it again. Full fertility drugs and enough energy drinks to give a hippo a heart attack. Well, she gets points for effort and enthusiasm at the least. Kushina settled in, leaning more into Minato's back as they sat together in calm silence. They had to give a lot of thanks that they could even do this much. Being able to peer into the mortal realm and see their child and his offspring. It was a gift they would cherish. Feeling like causing trouble, Rin relaxed back into her own cloud. You jealous at all that Naruto pulls so many women while you're stuck with the hothead? Minato didn't even miss a beat. My Kushina is my light and stars. I wouldn't trade her for anyone else in existence. Besides, she fills my heart completely. I don't need more. Wiggling in place, Kushina was up and dragging Minato away. That's the correct answer. And for putting me in such a good mood, I'm gonna put you in a good mood, you delightful idiot. Shaking her head with a smile as Minato gave her a thumbs up as he was dragged away, Rin turned to see a slightly irritated Biwako staring at her. Was I that obvious? Yes. Well, Kushina still needed to blow off some steam. Honestly, children these days, all you think about is rolling around in the sheets. Why, in my time, In your time, families were very common to have 5 or more children. Coughing into a hand, Biwako made sure not to let Rin see her flush. Things were different. Sure thing, Oba-san. Sarutobi dragged his way towards his wife. I need a healing or 3. Biwako sighed and stood to help her husband along. More like you need to apologize properly. She'll beat you eternally if you let her. Best to drag him off somewhere quiet where they could watch over Asuma and his child. Let Minato and Kushina make noise in this particular corner of the afterlife. Rin scored a point for herself and grinned, turning back to her cloud. Now, where is that Kakashi? I need to confirm something. B. In a dark corner of Azushio, underneath the Chinook clan's main home, was a meeting of some of the strongest men on the continent. The topic of the evening: how to survive the future. Iruka tossed a shitty hand of cards away, leaning back in his chair as Naruto's pile of chips continued to grow. You know, I love Anko, really I do. But the woman doesn't understand that normal humans need sleep, rest, recuperation. He really did love his wife and her need for cuddles. But while his will was strong, his flesh failed him. Kakashi snorted, upping the ante with a hidden grin. Sounds like you need to get back on your training school, teacher. You knew what you signed up for. Kakashi certainly wasn't going to complain about his own love life. Shizune was more than enough for him, and the proof that things could be worse was sitting at this very table. Bag under his eyes, Gosu sighed and nodded along. Desire a fierce woman, be ready for fierce consequences. Isaribi was such a bubbly and outgoing woman who publicly was easily approachable and fun to get along with. But at home, he had a trail of bite marks all along his left arm that were both fresh and old under his jacket. He might as well get them tattooed on at this rate. What was it with women and biting things they liked? Naruto chuckled and raised Kakashi, eyeing his royal flush with all the confidence of a man who knew better. Couldn't have said it better myself, Gosu. Though, I think I'd kill for some real, full night's sleep. The last remaining member of the table, Jugo, wondered once more what he was doing here. Lord Naruto is perhaps too good at what he does. Is it too late to become a monk? Take a vow of celibacy. Naruto felt like he could almost hear feminine screaming in his ear that sounded strangely like his mother. Nah, that'd be crazy. Iruka pointed a finger at his former student. What was it Kakashi said? You knew what you signed up for. I signed up to rebuild my clan and my city. Not attempt to repopulate it with my own legion of children. Besides, it's the girls at this point who keep dragging me into new debauchery. Naruto smirked as he laid his cards out. Read 'em and weep, boys. Groans all around the table as Naruto raked in even more money. Jugo felt a tickle on his senses. My lord, are you avoiding any work at the moment? Avoiding would mean that I was supposed to do it in the first place. Naruto shrugged and steadfastly refused to think about work or responsibilities at the moment. All my work in the office is complete. No important visitors are coming to bug me and the city isn't on fire. I can relax. Plus, there's a clone at the desk for emergencies. Kakashi chuckled as he could see the gears beginning to work through Jugo's head. Does that count when your wives can tell the difference between your clones and you? Naruto had led more than a few of the women on a merry chase all over the city at one point or another. It was fun to watch. The stronger than he needed to be young man suffered well for his success. Well, maybe. Was that how they could always track him down? When had they figured out that particular skill? Hey. Kurama's chuckling entered Naruto's mind, giving him the answer he needed. I'm going to get you back, you fur ball. Maybe, but I'm having fun either way. To think I let you out weekly to have fun with the Matatabi. Maybe I should quit that. Have a heart. This is harmless. My sanity is at stake. Don't be a pansy, you'll be fine. Also, heads up. Pulled from his thoughts, the room was bathed in bright light as the only door was forced open. Looking over as he could hear Kakashi sigh heavily, they were all met with a grinning Anko who had an arm slung over an equally grinning Tayuya. Behind them he could just make out what looked like Ino as well. Anko pointed at Iruka dramatically. Husband. Your services are required. Looking around the card table for help and finding none, Iruka nodded and stood. Yup, guess that's that. Same time next week. Kakashi raised a hand. Sounds good. Naruto was already making his way to his feet. You and Anko should not be allowed to be friends. Eyes on Tayuya, he allowed himself to be dragged away. Tayuya took one side while Ino took the other, leading him up and out of the basement. We have a bet to settle. Common, to home we go. Anko cackled as she dragged Aruka along. Remember, 24 hours. No more and no cheating. Naruto shared a look with Aruka. Good luck. Considering the context and the leers the girls were sending him, Naruto didn't have to ask what they were about to endure. That's your department, I'm going to pray to the kami. The slap on the ass from Anko barely even registered, so used to her by this point it didn't faze him. Back inside the men's poker room, Gosu shared a look with Jugo and Kakashi. Should we continue, or make a run for it? Standing and stretching, Kakashi shook his head. Yeah, that's a no. Shizune may look meek, but she'd hunt me from here to sooner if she had to. Plus, why would he run? His wife was hot. B. Naruto relaxed as he floated in the hot spring alone for the moment. A few of the girls had convinced him to take a trip with them, finding themselves back in the land of hot water once more. They wanted to get away, even if the world was always just a thought away. So here he was, under the stars and soaking in aromatic waters that warmed him down to the bones. He didn't have long to himself, a cuddly Hinata sliding into the water on his left easily. Good evening, beloved. Hey Hinata. Eyeing her up and down for a moment, Naruto grinned and kissed her softly. Enjoying the feel of her body against his, he pulled away and settled back down. To think, I used to be so blind to how much you really loved me. Hindsight, dear, doesn't make it easier, never does. Ino was next to slide to his other side, cuddling into his chest with a content sigh. This is just what the doctor ordered. No kids, no responsibilities. Just a fun evening for themselves. What did I miss? Nothing yet, just thinking about the past. Naruto went back to watching the stars, wondering how many of those stars held worlds much like their own. How many countless others were looking up into the void just like he was, pondering their place in the universe. Smirking and wheedling a finger into his side, Ino knew what to bring up. Oh, like when you couldn't get the hint that me and Hinata had the hots for you. Or maybe Hinata's stalker phase. I wasn't a stalker. I just loved from afar. Yeah, stalker. Ino-chan. Just calling it like I see it, sis. Ino laughed as Hinata splashed her once. At least you weren't a raging fangirl. Hinata nodded at that. True, but Sakura did get her man in the end. So did you. I wasn't a fangirl of Naruto. That was you. I remember it differently. All your brains went to your tits, that's why. Naruto squeezed both girls, quieting them and exuding a calming aura. Enough of that, I think. We're here to relax and rest. Let's not get catty. Two new voices joined them, Tayuya and Karen sliding into the water to on opposite sides of Hinata and Ino. I don't know, Whiskers. We could get a little rowdy, see where it takes us. Karen sighed and leaned into Hinata as Tayuya and Ino set about putting on a show of wrestling like old times. To think even now, they're still guerrilla mode. Hinata nodded, it's in their nature. Ino turned back to wink at Naruto while making a crude gesture near her mouth. Oh, I'll show you what's in my nature. She couldn't ignore Tayuya suplexing her into the water, tossing both of them into the murky depths. Oh, did we miss the festivities starting already? Shall I join in? Kaguya had no shame in walking about in the nude. She knew she was perfection, why worry about what others thought? Behind her, Mei and Honoka sighed and led a curious Temari, Yugito and Sumui along. You can try to be a little humble. Humble is for those who are not greatness. We are, thus, we have no need for it. Kaguya delighted at the feel of the hot waters on her skin. It was such a delight to be alive once more. Now, dear husband, about more children. She was also here for another type of mission. She had yet to join the childbearing group and it was time to change that. Watching the chaos begin to unfold, Kayuki shook her head as Shen closed the door behind them. Yeah, I'm not getting into the middle of that. Shen giggled as clones began to be made, carrying girls off either for back massages or other more daring requests. This is the Uzumaki way, isn't it? Yup. Kayuki smiled softly as she considered the man walking up to her to sweep her into his arms. It certainly is the Uzumaki way. Naruto grinned from his relaxed place in the water, Hinata still cuddled into his side as things began to ramp up around them. Ready for another adventure, Hinata-chan? Nodding away, Hinata wouldn't say no to another adventure. Where you go, we'll go, beloved. Now and forever. Great. Naruto raised a hand to point at a star, smirking and miming shooting it. Let's make a nuisance of ourselves then. They had plenty of time to do anything and everything they could think of. Might as well work through it all a little bit at a time. Starting now. But first, I have need to impregnate a goddess. Scratch one more off the old bucket list. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.